The Florida Panthers go into Madison Square Garden and in a battle of heavyweights in the Eastern Conference, get the 2 points against the New York Rangers and use their third period to shut down the Rangers and extend their lead in the Eastern Conference. And Aleksander Barkov, did you just do that?
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Tuesday, March 5th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're to our team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at Monoman12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers. And shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. And download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. So, Florida Panthers fans, I gotta ask a question to all of you guys listening. How are you guys feeling? Because I'm feeling really great after seeing what we just witnessed on Monday night against the New York Rangers, where it's been a place where the Panthers haven't won in a very long time. I mean, November 10th, 2019. I mean, if you really think about it, COVID wasn't even part of our new normal the last time the Florida Panthers went into MSG and got a win there at the Garden. But just when it comes to this one, I mean, you think about where these two teams, heavyweights, and even Paul Maurice spoke about it pre-game, where if you like a game that is speed for speed, this is the type of game for you. Paraphrasing his words there, but you knew that both teams were getting up for this one. I mean, you very little second chances at first too. I mean, Evan Rodriguez spoke about it after the game, after the first period, talk about how they wanted more opportunities in the offensive zone, and guys knew what was at stake. So maybe as far as the physicality went, after a little bit of that here and there, but nothing as far as a fight with Matt Rempe and anything, even though there was a little bit of conversation between him and Yona Gadjevich there. But the mission was simple: get there, get the 2 points, and move on, which the Florida Panthers did by a final score of 4-2 on the road in Madison Square Garden against the New York Rangers. And I mean, when you think about this and the game, how it was officiated, and the game was also officiated like it was a postseason game. I mean, nothing was going to be called unless it was one obvious or two something super egregious as well for that. And even though the Florida Panthers did give up the first goal, which I'm not going to crap on Bob for that first one, where you see a direction of a stick going one way, you think it's redirected, and it's hard to see from the peripherals of your mask, so you're not necessarily looking down. And then Cooley scores on that rebound on the power play, which was eventually changed to a power play goal. But you think about the penalty that Matthew Tkachuk took. I mean, didn't think that Adam Fox. I think the puck was close enough on that one for it to not be a penalty. But even though the Panthers shot themselves in the foot in that instance, the Panthers really they responded really well. I mean, they were still getting their odd man rushes and all that, and still winning key faceoffs. I mean, it was 14-8 after the first period too. So you saw signs of things to come, that the Panthers weren't going to go quietly into this one. I mean, and you think about for the second period for the Panthers, about really how it started for them too, which, I mean, Panthers lose battle at the blue line, and then there's a drive to the net with an open lane, and then Panthers countered, and Bennett was hit and slid to the net. The Panthers bench wasn't happy, but then midway through the second period, I mean, that incredible give and go, Barkov handling the puck, juggling 1, 2, 3 times. And think about this. If that juggle does not happen, look at the replay again. Vincent Trocheck isn't drawing towards Aleksander Barkov, and then Barkov doesn't get that to Reinhart for goal number 43, which made it third in a single season for most goals, just behind Pavel Bure's 99 and 2000 season as well. But just had to watch that more than 5 times just to appreciate and all. And then they respond later with multiple give and goes, and then the New York Rangers were not expecting Reinhart to get the puck back as well. And this was heavyweight battle for this one. Once again, we're going to use that a lot on today's show. I mean, the game opened up. It was tighter as far as puck protection and support. And New York, after the second goal was scored by Florida, they were starting to win a lot of their battles there as far as that. And Jeff Chikrin during the broadcast spoke about how a missed assignment is going to be a difference. Something opening up is going to make a difference. And maybe that was a little bit of manifesting there too by Chick. But you saw the signs there where odd man rushes were 9-4 after the period number 2. Yeah, the New York Rangers score on that first half of the double minor where Anton Lundell went to the box where he got Schneider up high. But still, the Panthers, they still were doing things right as far as their battles in the corners and all that, even though towards that second part of the second period, play goal on the first one by Cooley. So Panthers, they didn't give up a single goal at 5-on-5. And as well, through the first 40 minutes, 12 of their 22 shots came on special teams, 10 of them on the power play, 2 of them at shorthanded. And the rushes that Sergei Bobrovsky stopped too early on, that was a big difference in this one for the Panthers as well when it came to that. And third period, I mean, what the Panthers were able to do in the freaking neutral zone, just denying the entries from the New York Rangers and all. I mean, the Panthers, the top line had a odd man rush, denying a entry. They couldn't score, but then the fourth line, just moments later, they which incredible back check by Kevin Stetson. He didn't cheat. It doesn't show an assist there unless they change it later. But Gustav Forsling gets just chips it up casually. Ryan Lomberg finishes off the stick of Jacob Troup in, and just you kind of felt it there a little bit, but for the Panthers, I mean, just really that's when you really saw nothing for the New York Rangers as far as getting through that zone. And I mean, the big pressure for the Rangers didn't really come until 3 minutes left in the third period. I mean, really, that's really the pressure that the Rangers were putting on the Panthers in the third period didn't really come until that time. And you got to give a lot of credit to the Panthers coaching staff, Sergei Bobrovsky, for keeping the Cats in it and just making just incredible stops as well for the Cats. I mean, even going into this game, it felt great hearing Steve Goldstein say Vezina Trophy candidate Sergei Bobrovsky going into it. It's not really a conversation that we've had a lot on here. We've just been focusing game by game. But when you really look at it as a whole and seeing the streak that the Panthers are on, which 16 of their last 17 is 2 goals or less, I mean, let's start the conversation there. 20 games left for the Panthers, and Bobrovsky's just been incredible. Very, very still in his net, on top of the crease, taking away angles and all. But that just this one, it was a litmus test for the Panthers. They knew what was at stake because like I said on Monday's show, a regulation win for the Rangers would have had them owning the tiebreaker going into Monday night's game. But Panthers shut down all that noise. They go in, rolled all four lines. I mean, that third line as well for the Panthers. They were getting in on the forecheck and creating opportunities. I mean, just a lot to like about Monday night's game as the Florida Panthers went into Madison Square Garden and got the win, where now the Panthers 15-0 when their opposition scores first, which means no lead is safe against these Panthers too. So that's another thing that is impressive about all of this for the Panthers. And just Barkov, we spoke about face-off wins. Barkov 12 of 15 on the night. You know, quick math there, 80% there on, and just you gotta love what you're seeing with the Panthers. John Buccigross also mentioned the goals might be down for the captain, but his assists are higher as well, and his career high. He has a career high in faceoff percentage, which Barkov joked in the offseason with Bergeron retiring. Hey, maybe my faceoff percentage will go up 1% or 2%, and it's manifesting. It's showing up in this year's stats too there as well. But we're going to move on to segment number 2, more about our 3 stars of the game and the moment when we thought this game was won or lost. We're going to discuss that and more here on the Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper, and we are at the 3/4 portion of the season, 75%. And regardless of where the Panthers are in the current standings, top of the Eastern Conference and the top of the NHL, I want to remind you that you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy contests. So all you had to do is pick studs like Connor McDavid, Alexander Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon. If they will record more or less their Sleeper projections like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with attention. Now your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a 100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms and locational available. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV with the free Fire Channels app. Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today available on the free Fire TV Channels app. Segment number 2 here on this Tuesday, March 5th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Tuesday as the Florida Panthers go into Madison Square Garden and get a 4-2 regulation against the New York Rangers to continue their dominance in the Eastern Conference. And going into this matchup, the Florida Panthers were number 1 in the East in record against the Eastern Conference, while the New York Rangers were coming in 3rd. So in between them, the Carolina Hurricanes, if for those who want to know about who was in the middle. Just goes to show the kind of battle that the Florida Panthers were facing on the night as well. So 3 stars of the game. Mine is a little different from what you'll see on the NHL app a little bit. So 3rd star will be Sergei Bobrovsky. For me, that he gave up were on the power play, on the penalty kill, excuse me. And yeah, it hurts the road penalty kill numbers for the Panthers. But you think about how with the Panthers and just how they were when you saw them at 5-on-5, even before the third period, they're out shooting the New York Rangers after 40 minutes. And the discipline for the Panthers there, which no penalty by either team as well. They locked it down, and 5 shots allowed in that in the third period, denying the neutral zone, and multiple white sweaters to create rushes going the other way, finishing their checks, forechecking, keeping it in the zone, getting pucks in deep, just complete dominance in the final 20 minutes. But Sergei Bobrovsky, what he did at even strength, got to give him the third star of the game for the Panthers. Second one will be Sam Reinhart for me. NHL.com, from the media, has Reinhart as number 1, but I'm going to have him at number 2. Yeah, he got the 2 goals, 43 and 44, and incredible finish once again on that first goal. Just getting it, and also how the New York Rangers had no idea that he was getting that puck back on that second goal on the multiple give and goes. But number 1, just because it's likely the play of the year, Aleksander Barkov has to be. At least he is my first star of the night, because what he's able to do with his speed, getting through, handling the puck and all, and even spoke about it during the intermission about, I have the quote, and it says, quote, "Everything happened so quick. Just tried to make the best play possible. It wasn't planned, but it happened." Close quote. And the fact that you can go through checks, bobble that puck, still handle it, and get a pass off in real time. I mean, me personally, I'd have to slow it down by half, or even 3 times, or Aleksander Barkov would have to do it 3 times the speed that I ever could when it comes to that. Plus guys around him too. Just also goes to show the elite talent that Aleksander Barkov possesses as far as his full 200-foot game. And we beat the dead horse about his defensive play and his back checking and all, and how you're gliding through all from one zone to the next, and he's just there on a quick stick lift, and then whoop, you're going the other way. This is why me and the guys over at Panther Parkway nicknamed him Silent Death, because he just kills you in just different ways as well. The moment where I thought this game was won for Panthers was shortly after the Panthers went ahead 3-2 after 6:11 of the third period. And it wasn't a goal by Berg, but it was a big stop that Sergei Bobrovsky had. He saw it from a mile away, where Timothy Lindgren had a shot from the blue line, and Mika Zibanejad was out in front to try a redirection to tie the. But Sergei Bobrovsky quickly and makes that stop and says, "Nope, you're not going to get anything quality on me." So that's my moment when I thought this game was won. After the Panthers took the lead, Sergei makes that stop on Mika Zibanejad. And think about what the Panthers did in this one as far as limiting the superstars of the New York Rangers, which Zibanejad is a Panther killer historically, and limited him to 2 shots. Adam Fox was limited to 2. Panarin was limited to 2. And that top line for the Rangers, they're outshot 8-3 too. So there's also a little bit of a formula of how to beat the Rangers. I mean, odd man rushes, they give up a lot of them. Rebound chances, they give up a lot of them too. So you saw a little bit of a formula of how you can beat them. And Madison Square Garden, that's a tough place to play. Panthers will play anywhere, but thankfully for them, if they end up getting the number 1 seed, you will get that opportunity for the last change for the Cats. Even though you don't mind matching up with them, because the Losterinen and Lundell line, they were matching up a lot against that line, and they did the job. They got it done. They were, excuse me, able to contain, and it's just whenever guys are just bought in, they are hyper focused. The leadership is great. This team just fights for each other, and even something like the Kachuk penalty going after Adam Fox, you saw how this team is there for each other too. So it's just gotta love what you're out of this squad as far as their consistency, as far as style play too, where it works. Home, away. Just you sometimes, and this is coming from someone who hosts a daily podcast, you sometimes run out of words to say as far as the superlatives and the adjectives of what to say about everything that the Panthers just do right. Shots were on the outside. Duns galore, too, for the Rangers. And it's just protecting your goaltender, which the Panthers continued to do well. And still, that 6 against per game coming into this one, that's shrinking by a little after tonight's game. 16 out of the last 17, 2 goals or less. So keep the puck out of your net. You will find yourself on the winning side more often than not for the Cats, and it's you definitely got to feel great about this one. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to turn the page because the Panthers have a quick turnaround coming on Tuesday night, as they will visit to the New Jersey Devils at the Rock, where there's a little bit of drama going on in New Jersey. We're going to discuss that and more here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to this third and final segment of this Tuesday, March the podcast. Thank you once again for Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, your listen of the day. Make sure to subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And thank you all for subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you happen to subscribe, we have 700 subscribers now. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. You guys, there is no Locked On Panthers podcast, by the way. So thank you, everybody. But now for the Panthers is how do you go turn the page now after such an emotional win, a big one on the road, where now, by the way, you've won the season series now. One more matchup. And by the way, we're recording this live on YouTube, by the way, and anything could happen as far as trades. But the next time the Florida Panthers meet Rangers, they're likely going to have one big addition on the roster, as Aleksander Barkov of the Sea was held out of tonight's lineup in Calgary for trade-related reasons, and the New York Rangers are one of the teams who are in on Alex Lomberg, the former Panther, too. So be on the lookout for that. As far as things on the Florida Panthers side of things, as far as trade, still nothing as far as what they're doing to improve their roster as far as that. But Panthers and Devils going into this one. Stolarz is going to get the start for the Cats, and it's great. We could sleep well too, knowing that you get a big win and that you're confident going into the next day with a goaltender who has the best road GAA in the National Hockey League. So you could breathe easy going into this one, even if it's a loss for the Panthers. The overall body of work is great to see for Stoli, the goalie. So what's going on with the New Jersey Devils? Well, they just finished a trip out west to California and got embarrassed by both the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings. The game against LA was on a nationally televised game on TNT on Sunday. And Lindy Ruff, former Panthers assistant coach, he was in the boot as well. A lot of fire Lindy chants at the beginning of last season. They win more. Sorry, Lindy chants go on. They went around. He gets an extension. The wheels kind of fall off. They can't get goaltending. Dougie Hamilton's been out with a torn pec for a while now, but it's still a really young group with a lot of untapped potential. Yeah, they won around last year. Part of me was thinking, are they the Senators of the Metro? But I would say no, because they won a round at least. But there's some similarities there, but they just don't have goaltending. None of their goaltenders are over 900. None of them have a 900 save percentage. And it's going to be a tough job for former Canucks coach Travis Green, who's taking over the job. Let's not forget what was happening with the Devils when Andrew Burnett was an assistant, was originally on the coaching staff last year. There was, if things go wrong with Lindy Ruff, Andrew Burnett could be the guy. At least that was the conversation on the outside. Is it maybe too little too late for the Devils? They were on the verge of trading for Jacob Markstrom, former Florida Panther. But Don Maloney, president of hockey operations for the Calgary Flames, stopped that trade on behalf of ownership too. So now Jacob Markstrom's calling out management in Calgary. And so what's going to happen with the Devils? They're going to get that new coach bump, more than likely. Maybe they'll get goaltending. And we saw what happened with the Edmonton Oilers after they fired Jay Woodcroft, and they finally got goaltending. And Jay Woodcroft was probably watching hockey on TV, pulling his hair out, thinking, where was that when I was coaching? But also, there are 32 teams in the NHL. We've had 8 firings this season. A quarter of the NHL. Crazy to think the pressure there is to win there, which if you're a Florida Panther fan, you got to love the situation there when you see the rest of the league and what's going on with some of these teams with the pressure to win. So third matchup between the Florida Panthers and the New Jersey Devils. First one came third game of the season, 4-3 win after blowing a 4-0 lead. Stoli, the goalie, wasn't between the pipes at the Rock. And hey, I'm not a betting man, but Reinhart had 2 goals against the Devils in the first matchup. He had two tonight against the Rangers. He scored in their previous matchup against the Rangers. He loves playing the tri-state teams. One of their 2 matchups against the Islanders, he scored 2. I mean, he loves playing a lot of teams this year. I mean, he has 44 goals, for crying out loud. So, but just looked at, excuse me, some of the tri-state area teams and just been on a tear specifically against those teams when you look at it um, from that. But second matchup in late January, Nico Dawes is between the pipes on January 13th, which was same day as the Dolphins season coming into it to an end in Kansas City. With dual casting that, and Panthers got goalied in that one. Nico Dawes was between the pipes, and a few weeks later, Jack Hughes comes out after a win from the Devils with Nico Dawes in between the pipes, and says, "This is what happens when you get goaltending." So, but the fact that he called it out to the media was kind of an alarm, because there's that unwritten rule where even if the goaltending is not great, what you do as a player and what you do as a coach, you just don't call that out. You just don't. We can, but there's a little bit of that unwritten rule when it comes to the players talking and saying something, where you don't throw your goalie under the bus, goalies. And he was talking about Vitek Vanacek, Akira Schmid, and all. But the truth is, Tom Fitzgerald, original Panther, yeah, we love him. Brought great memories to this region, but he failed Lindy Ruff as far as getting a goaltender there. So we saw Vanacek in Washington. he was eventually replaced by Samsonov. Within 4 periods or 5, came in the middle of game 2 of that first round series against the Panthers. So we can't be surprised when the goaltending has gone badly for the Devils, when that's your tandem there. Now, the question is, a lot of their core is locked up on the cheap. Tyler Toffoli, he is an unrestricted free agent. So is he on the move? They traded for him just this summer for Igor Shesterkin, and he's been a quite valuable piece for the Calgary Flames this year. So Craig Conroy, Tom Fitzgerald, they like to trade with each other. So maybe look out for something as far as maybe Markstrom going there sometime in the future. He does have a year left on his contract after this year. But for Toffoli, is it a name that the Florida Panthers could be interested in? How much will it cost? We'll see as far as that, but it won't come cheap. He's Stanley Cup champion. Crazy to think that his one and only Stanley Cup came 10 years ago, where the Los Angeles Kings beat the New York Rangers on that epic game-winning goal by Alec Martinez, one of the best finishes in a cup final in my time of watching hockey. But I guess you could put Patrick Kane's game winner there in Philadelphia in 2010 as well. And once again, they're going to have an emotional advantage. And that's something that Paul Maurice speaks about. You got to match that intensity that the opposition is going to bring when that new coach bump happens. Because, yeah, Travis Green was on the staff. But think about how now he's setting his own rules, his own routine with the team, his own. And you want to still find a way to stand out. For the Devils, for some players to maybe go up in the lineup. And if you are a bubble player, about not being sent down, if you happen to be on your ELC, or even if you're not waivers exempt, that's going to be a new motivation for the New Jersey Devils. But the great thing for the Panthers, like I said earlier, they don't need an external drive to match their opponent's intensity. You don't get to 42, 16-4, do 62 games if you need external motivation. And that's what's great about the leadership that is in Sunrise, Florida, that has let me repeat this. 42, 16, and 4. Just incredible. Best team in the East, best team in the league. And the Panthers show that night in and night out. And there's more conversation about them being the team to beat. And some guys saying it's the Panthers versus whoever's coming out in the West. That's not me saying it. So, but again, there's 20 games left. So I'm going to pump the brakes there after that. So let's just get through tomorrow, day, and the trade deadline. And then, man, we could really continue this conversation on the Panthers, just continuing to try to build this and to just continue to take it game by game. And just the fact that they don't fear any opponent. So that's really the great part about this. When, where, and they'll show up and play. That's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. On tomorrow's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, Jacob Winans will be returning to the show to recap tomorrow's Florida Panthers versus New Jersey Devils matchup, as Florida Panthers are looking to win their 6th game in a row and continue building on their lead in the Eastern Conference and the race for the President's Trophy. But in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey with Flip Livingstone and Steve Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez, signing off. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Network, where it's your team every day.